welcome to my video. So in this video I'm going to be just doing a little brief video on how I set up Arch Linux to show people it's not really too hard to set up Arch Linux on your computer. So I'm going to basically show you guys how I do it, and I'm going to just do it in a virtual machine. So basically you can do it the exact same way on a host computer. I'm just going to show a little process how to install the guest editions for VirtualBox if you want to do this in a VM. So you could also just test it out and, before install it onto an actual host, host meaning on your actual hard drive as your main system, like what you see right here. This is on a host. This is an Arch Linux on a host with Gnome. And I'm going to be basically setting up with Gnome, but I will show you that you can do with other desktop environments and Windows managers that's provided in the Arch install script. So yeah, so let's get into it. So basically I'm going to start up the ISO. I already set it up already. Basically I put it with 8 gigs of memory, 120 gig video display. I got the latest ISO, which is December 1st. That's actually on my older sister's birthday. So I'm gonna just, I use two cores. I could actually use more, but you don't really need too much, just for a demonstration. Though on a host computer, I would recommend this on a quad core or higher, and at least 8 to 16 gigabytes of memory. 16 would probably be more ideal. So here you go. I'm gonna load it up here. So this is basically how you would see the ISO once you load it up. To put it on a USB stick, you just need a program. There's Etcher. I'm not sure if you guys heard of that. You can use that, or you can even just use the Unix command DD. It's not really hard, but there's a lot of other programs that you can put on a USB stick. I mean, there's a lot of programs. Maybe I can do a video on that in the future, but even if you search it online, it's not really too hard to put it an ISO onto USB. I'm sure a lot of people know how to do that, but I might, if people want to know how to put an ISO on a USB stick, I could also do a video on that too as well. But right now I'm just showing you how to basically set up Arch Linux. So when you get here to the main system of the ISO, basically is a command line system, because Arch Linux is a command line system. And by default, if you don't use Arch install script, and you didn't set it up with an Nx or a desktop environment or whatever, it will default to a command line system like this. So yeah, this is basically what Arch Linux is. This is Arch Linux. This is a real Arch Linux user will use Arch Linux. Is basically this. So when people say a real Arch Linux user is someone that uses a tile window manager system, no, it's a person that uses Arch Linux, and this is basically what Arch Linux is without no GUI. You can use whatever GUI you want. Just because someone uses Gnome doesn't mean that they're stupid. I just like Gnome because I think it's a good desktop environment. Anyways, so when you're greeted to the shell here, you just type arch install. Hit enter. What this does, it loads up a command line script that's, I think, is programmed in Python. So you basically set up your system. So right here, you choose your language. Basically, it will default to the language of the ISO that you got it from. So if you got it from a different language, like let's say Danish or whatever, it will be Danish by default when you load up the Arch install script, because it basically looks for the default. I'm not 100% sure because I'm English, so it always shows English for me. If it does show English, just select your language then. You can do mirrors, locals, but I usually keep it default, but it's your choice how you want to do it. So the most important thing is disk configuration. So when you go there, you just go down, you'll see the little arrow, and it'll be highlighted in blue. So right here, it does show stuff. So like if you click this, you know, partition, whatever, there's some options here. It'll say select a partitioning option. Use the best effort default partition layout. You could do that. You could do manually, and you could do pre-mounted configuration. I usually do manually. So click here, and then it's gonna ask you which disk you want to select. So I already made a disk, which is 64 gigabytes right there. So you just basically select the disk that you want. You'll see the arrow, and it'll be highlighted in blue. And you just hit spacebar to select. They'll show a little like yellow star that is selected, and you just hit enter. Then after it's going to say partition management. So it's going to say create a new partition, suggested partition layout, and confirm and exit. You could put create a new partition, and then it'll ask what partition you want to use. btrfs, external 2, external 3, external 4, then NTFS, and then you have XFS. Some people like to use this. I prefer, usually default Linux systems are external 4, but I'm going to be showing you guys how to do it with a btrfs file system. I like btrfs file system because for snapshots, and I don't know, it works good for me. I think it's a great file system, but you guys can choose whatever you want. But in this video, I will show you how to set it up with Snapper and how I set up my btrfs system. So I do btrfs, then it's gonna ask like your disk right here, and just put enter. Then that's what it's gonna say, create a new partition. Oh, this is a little different. Should suggest partition layout. Okay, so this will remove all newly added partition. Continue. So I could put then it's gonna ask you like, would you like to use btrfs subvolumes with a default structure? No. Like, would you like to use btrfs compression? No. Would you like to create a separate partition for /home? No. That's how I usually do it. I usually set it up like just root, like that, and then I have a separate partition for the boot. That's how I do it. So when you set it up like that, you go to suggest partition layout, and you basically just hit no for everything. I'll do it again. So like, would you like to remove all added partition? Continue. Yes. Then you're going to select btrfs. And would you like to use btrfs subvolumes with a default structure? You could use all this if you want. I don't. I just put no, no, and no. Because the reason why I don't use with yes, yes, yes for all the default settings, because that you can use that with time shift. And if you want to use it with time shift, sure. I use it with Snapper, and I use it with btrfs-assisant. So to each their own. This is how I do my setup. Okay, so once you're done that, it will show you like a little overview here. So I have a separate partition set up for my EFI, which is /boot, and the boot flag, you'll see the flag is boot. It's set up as, it does it automatically. It sets it up as a FAT32, and it's 212 megabytes. So like your main disk is, your file system is btrfs, and the mount point is just root, which is /. Then once that's all done, you just put confirm and exit. Okay, now we're gonna go to bootloader. By default, it's grub. You can select whatever you want. Before, these have different options. It's default by grub. That's good. Do you want swap? I usually don't use swap, but if you want it, use it. I have 48 gigabytes of memory. I don't need it. I set it up with 8 gigabytes. I don't need a swap. But if you want to swap, you can use swap. So host name, you can set up your host name. It is by default it's Arch Linux, but you can put whatever you want. So I'm going to put, Arch Linux VBox. because it's on a VBox system, VirtualBox. Usually I put like Arch Linux, or usually I put it like this actually, Arch-Linux, and then I put dash, then I put the computer brand, the name of the computer. Like if it's a ASUS, I put ASUS, and then I put dash the motherboard or the mobile model. Usually I put like B550 plus or B550-A. Like that's the model of the mobile. So for in this case, I'm just doing it in a VirtualBox, so I just put Arch-Linux-VBox. You can put whatever you want. It's your host name for your operating system. Now you gotta set up a root password. So I'm gonna do a really simple password. I'll tell it it's really weak, which is just tuxhat, because it's just a demonstration. So use your account, and like I'll put choose an object from the first. So like it'll just from the list. Yeah, like these objects here. So add a user, hit enter, and they'll ask like enter your username. So you just type in your username that you want to put for your system. In my case, I'm gonna put tuxhat, and then it's gonna ask for a password for the username. So I'm gonna put tuxhat for password, tuxhat for password. Then it'll say, should tuxhat be a super user? Yes. You hit default. So that's all done. It shows that you have a true sudo, password, tuxhat. I noticed they updated their script because it's a little different, but it's actually a lot better now. So now you just put confirm, since you have your user, your password, and it's a true sudo. So you just put confirm and exit. So now for your audio, now people might say use Pulse audio. Pipewire is basically Pulse audio, but it's just more, it's like a fork, and it's made more for Wayland. So I just consider Pipewire a lot better than Pulse audio personally, but if you guys want to use Pulse audio, go for it. I use Pipewire. That's just how I set up my system. Kernel, you can install other kernels. You can use Zen kernel, LTS if you want like other kernels. I just use the regular default Linux kernel. Personal choice once again. For network configuration, it says not configured. You can use Network Manager necessary to configure Internet Graphical and Gnome and KDE. So basically any graphical desktop environment, I would select this one here, use Network Manager. If you're not planning to use any GUI for the system and just use Arch Linux and a shell, you can just put copy ISO network configuration to the installation. Basically, it will just set up your shell basically with network. But if you use a graphical interface with your Arch Linux, which we are going to be doing that, we'll just use Network Manager. So select the second option, hit enter. Time zone UTC. You can set up your time zone, whatever. I just use UTC. Automatic time sync, I use NTP, which is true. Then you can also set up optional repository. Now I did skip an option. You're gonna see profile, which I skipped over. But so what profile does here, like you can do that right after you set up your user. You can go to profile. I just kind of skipped to audio. I just some reason did not see that. So you'll see profile. What profile does is this. So to modify the below options, and then it'll say type. So you'll see like here type. So just go to type. Then it'll say this is the list of pre-programmed default profiles. So you have desktop, minimal, server, Xorg. So these are different ways to set up your system. If you want to use it for server, this will mainly be, I'll set up all the tools that you need for a server, and it'll be mainly in a command line. It won't be no GUI. Minimal, it'll be a very basic installation that allows you to customize Arch Linux as you see fit. So basically this will give you all the tools you need, but it will install it won't install a graphical interface, but if you do, it will probably be set up for Xorg to use with the system already automatically. I'm guessing that's how it is. Or you can set up Xorg server if you want. I usually go desktop. Desktop is really cool because it gives you a lot of lists here. So this gives you a really nice list because it gives you the tile and window manager people what they want, and it also gives the desktop environment people what they want, and it gives you a really nice list. So you got Awesome Window Manager, which is a tile and window manager. BSPWM, that's also a really nice tile and window manager. You got Budgie, which is kind of like Cinnamon in a way, which is the next one after. These two desktop environments are based on Gnome, but they have their own shell, and it's supposed to be more minimalistic. And if you guys don't know what these desktop environments are, Cinnamon or Budgie, just research it, and you'll see how it looks like. You can just type the name Budgie, DE, and it'll show you how it looks like. If that's something that you like, use it. I personally are not a big fan of these desktop environments, but if you like to use Gnome and you want more of a lighter weight shell on top of it instead of using Gnome shell, they use their own kind of shell for it. Personally, I don't use it, but some people like it. So there's Cutefish, which is sort of really buggy. I wouldn't recommend using this desktop environment, but if you want to use something and tinker around and play around just for fun, go for it. There's Deepin. I never really used that much either. I don't really know much about that, but I know it's another shell for Gnome. There's Enlightenment, which is a pretty interesting desktop environment. I have used Enlightenment 16 and a bit of 17. Really cool. It's very unique, and it's fun to play around with, but I don't really play around with it much anymore. But if you guys like Enlightenment, it's pretty cool. I usually use Gnome. There's Hyperland, which is another tile and window manager system based on highly configurable for Wayland. It uses Wayland highly in this system, and it has really cool effects. I actually think Hyperland is really cool. If I knew more about Hyperland, or if I want to know more about Hyperland to configure it and all that, like to make a really cool rice system, I really like to learn more about Hyperland, and maybe someday that'll be a future video of me playing around with Hyperland and actually doing my own ricing, and basically how I do mine ricing with Hyperland, because Hyperland is something I'm really interested in. You got i3WM, which is another tile and window manager system. You got your typical KDE system if you guys want KDE. There's a light version of KDE called Qt, which is it uses KDE and it's based on Qt framework, but it's just without all that pretty much what you see in KDE, like all that fancy stuff. Like you still have sort of that fancy feature, but it's more lightweight. It's kind of like LXDE in that regards, which is based on the Gnome toolkit instead of the Qt toolkit. So there's Mate, which is a fork from Gnome 2. You got QTiles. I didn't really use it. I think that's a tile and window manager system, if I'm guessing. And you got Sway, which I think is also sort of like a tile and window manager system, similar to Hyperland. And then you got, at the end, XFCE4, which is another desktop environment, which is really, really commonly used by a lot of people. And a lot of people like XFCE4. I'm not really a big fan too much of, but I don't hate it. I have mixed feelings with XFCE4. I don't think it's that bad, though, to be honest. And a lot of people probably know what XFCE4 is. So if you like that, you can have that as your desktop environment. You can select that as well. In my case, in this video, I'm going to be doing Gnome because that's what I use. It does install Gnome tweaks as well, which is cool. So I don't have to install that. So after that, it's going to say it'll say type of desktop. So right now we got it already set up. It's going to be set up with greeter, basically means desktop display manager, which is your login screen. And it's going to be set up by default GDM. you can also choose different greeters if you want. I use GDM. I think it works fine. That's what I use personally. And this video is basically like what you see in my videos, in my desktop, and how I set up my desktop and my system. This is how I set it up. So I use GDM. And for graphic drivers, okay. Now I'm going to be using virtual machine drivers. But if you guys have AMD, I would just select AMD/ATI open source. If you have Intel, I would just select Intel open source because they do not have any proprietary drivers for these. There are open source drivers. For NVIDIA people, which I use NVIDIA, you have a lot of options here. You have open source kernel modules. You have open source like Nuvu drivers, and you have the NVIDIA proprietary drivers. Now, when I select NVIDIA proprietary drivers, I had to do more stuff with the system. So I don't know how that worked, but because I had to install Arch Linux on a host for a while, but some reason like I had to install like DKMS drivers to have the NVIDIA driver always hook to every kernel. That's when you get an updated kernel, it will hook the modules of your NVIDIA drivers to it. So yeah, maybe I could do another separate video on how to set up NVIDIA if people use NVIDIA graphics or people ask for it. But it's pretty straightforward. It's not really anything too complicated. And if you're doing this in a guest like I am doing right now, like in a VirtualBox or VMware, just use the VMware VirtualBox open source drivers. So that's how that is. Now it'll show here your desktop, and when you highlight it, it'll say info. It shows that you selected Gnome. Then you have your graphical drivers, which is, from my case, virtual machine open source drivers. Greeter, which is the login screen, which is GDM, Gnome Display Manager. Then you just hit back, and then you basically just go over everything. Just make sure you have everything set up properly. Then you can save configuration, or you can just hit install. I'm gonna hit install, so I'll hit install, and it's gonna show you all in the script what it's gonna do to your system. So you push enter. Now it's going to do a countdown. After you hit enter, it's going to wipe everything on your hard drive, and it's going to basically create the partition that you set up, and it's basically got to install Arch Linux out of the box. So now we're going to let it do its thing. It's got to install the system. Also, there's another packet, I think it's called I forgot. I think it's called I'll show you guys later once we go into Arch root, because to install Steam you need to install another you need to enable another thing in Pacman configuration, but I'll show you how to do that afterwards, because right now we're just installing a basic default system of Arch Linux, and I will show you guys how to install some software I use, and how to just basically set it up before you even do your reboot of the system. So right now we're basically just letting the script, basically Pacman is got to set up your Arch Linux system for you, which is nice. I like this script because it reminds me similar to what I was doing back with my old Tuxat Linux distribution, as I made a script probably not as fancy as, well, it was pretty fancy, but it's wasn't as simple, I should say, as this script that they have with the ISO now with Arch Linux. I do appreciate their Arch install script. To me, I like it, because setting up Arch Linux manually it's not that you can't do it, it's just it's a pain in the it's a pain, because like if you want to set up Arch Linux on more than one computer, and doing it always manually and stuff like that, like you don't always have the time, and after a while it gets repetitive. Like it's just like, I don't want to do this. Like I know how to do it, I just don't want to do it. There's a difference, right? Like the first few times is sure, like especially if you're new with Linux, sure, it will teach you a lot how Linux is configured and how to like set it up manually, which is not a bad thing. But if you're using Linux for over 20 years and you already know how to do all that stuff, you've done it many times, it gets, like I said, repetitive and kind of annoying. So this script is actually really nice to have for me, because I can just, what happened? This happens a lot with this script. I don't know why it does that. I didn't do anything like, okay. That's where, when it does that, you gotta have to reconfigure everything back to what you had before. I don't know why it done that. That is very unfortunate. So let's redo that again. Hopefully this will fix it. No. Okay, good. No. Alright, I'm doing this really fast because I don't know what broke it. It's hard to really tell. I know I showed a big error message. I just... okay, add user. Yes, confirm. That's how I really usually set it up. I do it really fast. Yep. Kernel, good. Additional package, no. No, I don't want to do that. Network, so what else? Kernel's good. Driver, Pipewire. So I think that's good. Not sure why it done that. What else? Am I missing anything? Optional time zone. Pipewire desktop is good. User, root password setup. User is set up as well. Hostname. Swap defaults. You can use it if you want to. Let's try it again. I really don't know why it just crashed like that. That's the first time I've ever seen it done that. Not sure why it's doing that. We'll try it again. Partition was unable to satisfy all the constraints on the partition. I don't know if it's a bug. I mean, it worked for me before. Like, why would it be a bug? I mean, why would it maybe be doing something wrong? Okay, so when that happens, you can just do a cfdisk. Oh, no. Let's quit. So let's do an Lsblk. Yeah, so it's SDA, right? Okay. Yeah, because okay. We'll just basically delete. Oops. Okay. What? So delete, and delete. Okay, so we're just gonna basically write yes and quit. Gonna go back to Arch install again. I don't like what it's doing here. It's no fun. So yeah, just like we do the partition, don't do manual, just use the first option. And just do no, no, no. And then I think that could be the problem. But this is how I set it out. Okay. So grub, true, host name, Arch Linux VBox, root password, tuxhat, user, add user, tuxhat, yes, confirm and exit, profile, I use Gnome, drivers, I use VirtualBox, good, so that's set up, kernel, additional packages, no, I always like set up with packages after. Once the system's installed, it will shoot to the system before you reboot. You can install packages before you even load up to the Arch Linux system. Now UTC, true, good. Additional packages, no. Audio drivers, yes. Pipewire, and locals define. For my case is English US, good enough. So yeah, that's good. Let's try it again. I really don't know what's going on with the installation script and why it's just stopping. Something to do with the partition, but still don't understand why it's doing that. And for some reason it does that. So I don't know. This might work now. I'm not even sure if it's a bug or it's my mistake. But whatever it is, with the partition, just go with the first option and just hit no on everything for btrfs. That's how I do it. I just like a btrfs root, and I like to use snapper. I don't really need to have sub volumes because I don't really use it with sub volumes. But you can if you want to use time shift, because time shift highly needs a at home sub volumes for it to work. So that's why it has other layout for sub volumes, but I just use btrfs root, which I use it with snapper, which is another program, something like what you would see in time shift, but I just use snapper because I like snapper a lot better. I think it's more straightforward, and I hope it just doesn't crash again. I don't know what crashed before that, but sometimes it's just does that and you just gotta redo it. Because I did have some problems sometimes like this when they start with this install script. I just redo it and eventually it works. Don't panic, guys. Like, just if your partition's all screwed up, you can just go to cfdisk and type the partition name. In my case with SDA, so I just done that and just deleted everything because it probably wants to. I don't know. It's working now for some reason. I think it's working. It's not done yet, but it seems like it's not crashing. I don't know what made it crash. It's just very interesting. It does that sometimes. But don't worry, it's Arch Linux. It's common. It's fine. Don't worry about it. The script is great, actually. I don't know what happened there, but it does that with partitions sometimes. I don't know why. It seems to be working good now. Did install grub, so that's good. If anybody get that error that I got with the script before, like if anybody knows why it does that, just drop that comment, because I have no idea. It does that sometimes with my, even when I try to like install it on like a host computer, like I get that sometimes. Not always, but sometimes I do get it. And unfortunately, I got it in this video of all things. Thanks, Arch Linux. You're not making yourself looking too good for the new people, but it's fine. Don't worry. It will eventually work. I think I kind of know what I did wrong. If the like, I kind of, well, I set up the exact same way. Like, I don't know. It's working now. It's fussy, the script. So, but like when you do get errors, you could always just like, just go back to your, like, go to cfdisk, which is a nice little incursive interface, TUI interface of to format your disk. You just have to basically delete all the partition that the script did, and basically it'll just delete, and just hit right and put yes, and then quit, and then go back and run arch install again, and just use the first option for partition. And basically, in my case, I use btrfs, but I don't use all the default options. I just put no for everything. But if you want to use the default suggested thing, use that if you prefer. And you can just install time shift, and you can use time shift with your btrfs for snapshot. If you want to use how I do it manually with no options that they give you, just straight up strictly btrfs/root and set up with snapper, which I'm going to show you, then that's how I do my btrfs system. But there's many different ways you can set up btrfs, and there's other file systems that you can set up if you don't even want, like a snapshot type file system. So I use btrfs personally. I quite like it. And I like btrfs set up just root, and I do like to use snapper with it. But that's how I do it. So this will take a while, depending on how fast your internet is. It will basically install Arch Linux with a GUI that you selected, which in our case was Gnome. The video will be quite long, so get prepared for it. Get a coffee, some snacks, and have fun with Arch. I like Arch Linux. It's a great system. Normally, like, it takes me less time than what I'm doing right now. I set up pretty fast because I'm not explaining how things are. This isn't good. Would you like to shoot into the newly created installation? So this is what you want to do this. So hit yes. So once you see this shell here, this is basically your system root system. And here you can configure your system all in here if you want to before even rebooting. So what I do nano/etc/pacman.conf, like that. Enter. I always do the first thing because I'm just a funny Arch Linux user. Capital I, capital L, love, capital C, candy. I love candy. It gives a little Pac-Man effect, like when you use Pac-Man. So, anyways, so what I'll talk about the repository here. So there's multi-lib you want to include. So you have core and you have extra. So multi-lib, basically what it does, it will install 32-bit programs for your system. Like Steam needs to have multi-lib enable. Okay, so make sure you have that, and then basically hit Control X, and you want to save it, push Y, enter. Okay, now you do a pacman-syyu. This will update and look for upgrades. It already updated everything system, but you'll see right here multi-lib. So there you go. So what So I'm gonna install some packages. So pacman-s. The first thing I install is base-devel. What base-devel does, it gives you some tools like for all your system, like make package, all like development tools pretty much. What else? I use Genie. I use gparted, Firefox for my web browser. I use GIMP. I use you can install Discord if you guys use Discord. You can also put Steam, but I'm not gonna put it with the system. You can use VLC, Shotcut. What else? I think it does install with Gnome tweaks, but we'll do it anyways. Gnome tweaks. There's Gnome. What is it? Gnome themes extra, I think it's called. And then there's papyrus icon theme. I think that's how it is, the package, if I'm typing it right. I use that. There's browser what's it called again? Browser extension connector. I forgot that one. Jeez. Am I very prepared for this? I'll just not use that for now. Browser. Is it browser? Wait, just give me a second here. Sorry. I just gotta search it up quickly on my other box here. So, browser connector. Oh yeah, Gnome browser connector. That's what it's called. Gnome browser connector. What this does, what it does is basically it will set up your web browser with an add-on. So let's say like you use Firefox and you have the Gnome extension add-on on your Firefox. You can basically install extensions from there, like like through the web page, and you can just enable the extension from there. It'll do it for you. And there's another one. Is it called extension app arch Linux? What's it called? So Gnome shell extension. I guess that does installs the shell extension. Huh. Well, what else do I use? I use dja-dup, which is a backup tool for Gnome. I think, no, we don't have btrfs-assisant. You need to have AUR set up. I could also do another video on how to set up AUR quickly with this system here that I already have installed. I'm trying to think what else. Well, we'll basically go with that. I do install Gnome Terminal. Personally, I like Gnome Terminal because they use console now. But anyways, that's fine. So it'll ask like fonts, just hit enter, push yes. Okay, so I didn't type any packages wrong, so that's good. It will be a basic default system. So you can put what you want on it. I'm just basically giving an example that most people probably use Discord, Firefox, stuff like that. I use Genie for my text editor. A lot of other people have other choices. Me, I'm just pretty much old school. I like Genie. I've been using it for many years. Many years. And same as GIMP. GIMP is something I use for a long time, and I love that image program. GIMP is awesome. Can't stress enough. I love GIMP so much. Best open source image editor program ever to exist on Earth. It's great. And I have some icons, and yeah. And like, I could possibly show you how to enable all like the extensions I use out of the box. I will need to install gas additions, so it's now easy with ArchLinux. So now that's all installed. So basically, since you have it all installed, all you gotta do is do a reboot. Oh wait, you gotta exit. You cannot reboot. You cannot do the reboot command inside shroot. So you hit exit. Now it's gotta go to your system. It'll even say it's complete without any errors. You may now reboot. So you just type reboot. Once you're in the root shell of the ISO, then you can just reboot. Then it will it should restart, and then this is the ISO. So I'm gonna just basically power this off because it's not loading up the hard disk. So you go to settings. For my case, if you're doing this on a virtual machine, you just want to untick that because you don't want the opcode anymore. You just want the hard drive to boot off. So if all works well, it should boot up grub. Yes, there you go. So this is now your system, and it should go to GDM. So I'm gonna just hit Control F because now it's in. You won't have gas additions because so it should load up to your GDM with your username that you created. And you should be greeted with the default system. So now you're in the default system. Now, for guests, you can use take a device and you put download. Okay, I don't know what it did there. So if you click here, is the ISO loaded up? No. Okay. So just gonna minimize it. I did have this page already loaded up because I knew it was gonna manage to. So we're gonna need to install VirtualBox guest-utils. Okay, so so you go here. Whoops. So you want to go you want console would be in here, I'm guessing. Yep. So you're gonna do sudo pacman-s. What's it called? VirtualBox-guest-utils. Okay. VirtualBox-guest-utils. Oops, wrong password. Yes. We should do a reboot. I think that should work. I don't know. It needs to be a different way how to, yeah, it's not working, but it might work once you log in here. No. I don't know. Was not really, so. So yeah, okay, to load modules, enable VBox service. So, all right, I'll try that. So once you install the gas additions, you're gonna want to do a sudo system control enable. Is it VBox service? I forget. Yeah, VBox service.service. Okay. So enable vert. Is it VBox service? Service. Is that what it said? Yeah, VBox service.service. That's exactly what I did. All right, let's reboot. Let's see if that works. I didn't enable it, so that's probably why. Who knows? So, oh yeah, see, there you go. You see, now it's in full screen. Right on. All right. So now you'll see I got gparted. You can pin on your bar. Like, see, like the dock is always in your activity by default, but you can just pin all this to your dock. Firefox extensions I usually pin as well. I pin Genie. Sometimes I do pin settings because it's just quicker. And this is your backup tool. I like that as well. Console, I'll pin in there for now because I don't have. Then you got tweaks. Now, here's the fun part. So now we got tweaks installed. We did install the Papyrus icons. If you want to use Papyra icons or Papyrus icons, I don't know how you pronounce that. You can actually use them. So you'll see right here icons, and you'll see Papyrus. I use dark. And wallpaper is by default is this. So settings, display settings, change background. Yes, we'll change background because I don't like this background. And then you can change your color scheme to dark mode. Okay, also, I don't know why it's like that, but also you can use tweaks here, and you can go to window, and you could add maximize minimize button if you want them on your bar. So maximize, and you'll have your minimize button. And we do also have the Papyrus icons enabled, because you can see these are the icons. As you may notice, it looks similar to what I have on my screen on my stuff. So here you can, if you click on this little three dotted thing, you can resize the icons. And if you want to show your hidden icons, you can put Control H, and it'll show all your hidden icons, your hidden files, I meant to say, on there. So this is basically a default Gnome dark mode. And because now I'm going to go to Firefox, and I'm going to show you how to use add-ons. You put Gnome extensions, okay, add-on, and then it will enable, well, you can use the add-ons, like to enable it, like you'll see right here, Firefox. So you just put add to Firefox. So now you'll have it in your extensions. Now you should have it in your extensions. I did add it. Okay, whatever. Just go to extensions, okay, and search for blur, and you'll see blur in my shell. And the Gnome shell extension using the site must install Gnome shell integration that consists two parts of the browser extension and native host messaging application. Click here to install browser extension. I did install it. Okay, now it works. Jeez. Okay, blur. Now it should work. You'll see here, you have a little switch. You just put on. Install. There you go. Blur my shell. So then you go back to extensions. I use dash to dock. Okay, so dash to dock. I use that. All you do is turn on, install. Now dash to dock will be there. You'll see it's on your desktop, but it will go invisible. So to configure that, you just go to your extension, okay, and you go to settings for dash to dock. How I set it up is that I take off the, to hide it. That thing's being annoying. And I put my dock to 32 in size. And basically I just I put shrink. And I don't use default, but I do customize the dash color to black. And I usually use optical. I do a fix. Is it fix? Yeah. And I go to like 50, like that, something like that. I think that's what I do. I'm not sure. Anyways, something like that, but it still looks cool. Also, what else do I do? I don't really use that or that. And I usually put my thing here. I don't really care for Gnome Store. Music, sure, if you use it. What's this? That's the ISO. So you do have a typical similar setup that I use. This thing is so annoying. Oh my god. Okay, so you go back here. Other extensions I use GTK4. I just type that because then it'll show the desktop. So you want to have desktops on your like desktop icons. I use this one here, GTK4 desktop icons NG, and it should have icons on the desktop. That's how I set up my system. Those always have icons like that on the side. And what else do I use? Extensions. I use is it app indicator? I just typed that. So yeah, in the app indicator and case status notification. Just here to enable your system tray. So you install that. You should have a system tray. If you have icons in a system tray, are using that. So that's basically how I use my system. So like, if you load up, Discord, I'm just loading up just because I want you to see that the system tray icon will appear when you load up an application that uses a system tree icon. So there you go. You have Discord out of the box with the main Pacman repository. There is a way to you can pin VLC shortcut if you want to pin that as well. There is a way to set up AUR. Now, I can do right now. So how you set up AUR, you basically go to your Firefox and type git hub, okay? And then just click the first link that you see there. So this is is a package manager that works with your AUR system. It talks a little bit about it. It actually talks a lot about it. So basically, you do need Git. I didn't install Git, but you'll need that. But then you'll need to run this git clone. So you got to open console. Before you do that, you want to do sudo pacman-s git, because I didn't install it. That was one of the packages I forgot to install. So you put yes. Okay, that's all good. Now that I selected that, I just use my third mouse button to paste that. It'll be git clone. You're gonna clone that. Then basically you go to cd okay. And then you're just gonna do a make package -si. These are packages that you can get manually from Arch Linux. In the AUR system, they have these little thing called packages, which is kind of similar to what ports in FreeBSD does. So, or even Crux. So what this does here, you can actually install these packages manually, and just by using make package, which is another Arch Linux tool. That's what's great about Arch Linux. And basically, what this does, it has a package for which is another package manager to use AUR. So to install it, you just type make package -si, and this will install And what does, it gives you access to the Arch Linux user repository, and you can install a lot of packages from there, that Pacman does not have in its own, like the main repository. So it's pretty good. People use other ones. Also, before I finish this video, because I'll try not to make this too long, it's quite long. I apologize for that, but it's basically how to set up Arch Linux. Or it's me just ranting a lot as well. So what else? So I will use and I'll do Gnome terminal. Terminal, I think it's called terminal transparent C, I think that's what it's called. Yeah, Gnome terminal transparency. So this will give you the Gnome terminal with the transparency options. So no, I just put no for both of those, and just put yes, remove dependency. This will install Gnome terminal with transparency. And it's gonna do it by source. That's what's nice about AUR. It does source, or it can even also install packages, binary packages as well. Binary source packages, I should say. And then AUR does similar to what Gentoo does in a way. Like, it does copy a lot of source stuff. And Pacman is mostly binary source. Kind of like FreeBSD too, because package does binary source and ports does source. But it does sometimes install packages through binary source as well. So it's quite similar in that regard. So here I think that's, this is Gnome terminal. I'm going to exit out of console. I want Gnome terminal, pin it to the dock. I'm going to unpin the console. So this is your Gnome terminal, and default profile, we want to get rid of that. We'll just use Gnome dark for now, but we do have transparency. I do put it very, 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 very low like that. Now to race your terminal, there's a Unix wizard paste bin. Is this still around? I don't even know the password for that, I don't think. Yes, there's all my paste bins from a long time ago. Even, yeah. Wow, I got a lot of things I've done in C language. So where's my bash? I even got all my old toxic Linux stuff. Wow. I'm just trying to find my bash here. Bash for CDM. What's that? Is that just the regular bash? No, that is the other bash. Where's my good old bash that I had here? Could be that one. Where is it? I'll just see on the second one here. It's probably this. I think it's this one here. No, that's my old one. Well, I don't know where my good old bash that I had before. Egg drop. Wow. This gives me a lot of old memories. CRYPTiCEXiLE builds. Yeah. That's not my bash I had before. Anyways, I can't find it. Because I do have it backed up on my backup stuff. But anyways, the prompt, that I could always share that to people in comments if you want the prompt that you see in my videos. But I will show you how to theme it though. So I use this thing called GOGH. Gnome. And then there's a GitHub stuff called GOGH. So I just basically go there. You could do it like this. Like just copy like that. That's the easy way. But if you want the source, I like to go to the GitHub source, and I get the source manually. I just get the code. And I just I copy that, and basically I do. So I do git clone. Why is it doing that? Are you serious? I want this. Like, I copy that. Like, what the hell? What? Anyways, let's try it again. Git clone. There you go. Don't know why it had the other one selected. So I get the source automatically. Because the reason I get the source, because I save it. When I do my backups with this, it saves all my configuration. And it also saves all the source that I got. So you see right here, I got, GOGH, and it also saves my YAS source. So if I do a backup with this program here, it's called dja-dup, -dup. When I told like to install that, because what that does is that you can make backups, and it's really nice to have, because it does save all your stuff in your home directory, all your dot files, everything. And so when you set up a freshly arched Linux system, you can just run your backup and just restore all your settings from your home directory onto your fresh new system. So like your bash will be all set up the way you set it up. You don't have to do it like how I'm doing right now. So you can just go cd-GOGH, and then you'll just do a /GOGH.sh, and it will ask to what theme you want. Okay, you can put all if you want them all. I go with Mona Lisa. I think it's 127. 132 now. Is it Mona Lisa? Is that what it's called? Did they rename it? I think so, yeah. So 132. It's changed now. Yeah, that's the one, but they changed the name to it. So once you have that, it's installed. So make sure before running the script that you do have your profile here. Like, don't use assistant theme colors, make it custom, or like, you know what I mean? Like, make sure that it's not there. And some reason, I don't know why this here is white, but anyways, it doesn't matter. So so that's default. Good. So when I exit out, it should have that color scheme. There you go. I didn't install, there's other tools you can install, like sudo pacman -s. See, also you can do this with your system. You can make the width a little bit much bigger, and also you can use custom fonts. So we don't have Hack Nerd. So what we can do is just type Hack Nerd fonts. So Arch, we have TTF Hack Nerd. So TTF Hack Nerd. Okay, so basically you can just do that. So Hack TTF Hack Nerd. That's actually pretty cool in a way. Don't have to do it manually because it's installed through here. What else was I going to install? I can install something else. I just forgot. Lost train of thought. Yes. Okay. So preference. So good. You want custom. I want Hack Nerd and select. Yeesh. Is that the one I want? Oh no. Wanted that. Select. Why is it like that? Okay. That looks a little bit normal. Let's just, I don't like it that big. There you go. Oh yeah. So you can do sudo pacman -s. You want neofetch install and INXI. These are pretty cool little programs. So you type neofetch, it gives you this, and if you type NXI-M-C-G-I, it gives you a little information of your system. And if you want to add that into your bash RC, you can just put neofetch. This is also where you can configure your prompt too. So if you go to your terminal, whoa, I didn't want to unpin it. Sorry there. So there you go. And that's how you basically set up Arch Linux with a GUI and a basic desktop that I do. Looks pretty similar to my host. Not entirely, but it's pretty much the crux of the system. It looks pretty much similar. And that's how I do it. So if anybody is wondering how I set up my system, this is how I set it up. This is how I set up Arch Linux. And I'm on the latest, which is 6.6.8. So yeah, just gonna power this off and tidy up this video. So hope that helps people. I know this is probably it's quite a long video, but I hope it helps people. And that's basically how you set it up. I'll say I did said that I was gonna do AUR in another video, but I've done it all in one video. And little hiccups here and there, but I manage. And if you guys are still scared to install Arch Linux, you can just do it through VirtualBox, like what you see in this video, and just play around with it like that until you really get familiarized with it. And then if you feel like you're very confident to do it, or you just have a spare computer, like you don't really care, which is probably the best thing to do. Like just get actual hardware and just pop it on there and just go right to it, man. Anyways, guys, thanks for the watch, and hope this helps people that are want to use Arch Linux but kind of like a little scared. Don't be scared. It's really not too hard. The more you work with the system, the more you play around with it, the more you're going to be familiarized with it. I was there myself back in the day. I was scared to use Arch Linux and just worry about like I messed up many times. Like, believe me, Arch Linux was pretty much a pain back in the day. Nowadays, this is actually well sorted out. Like, Arch Linux team are doing a really good job, and you guys are pretty spoiled nowadays. Like, Arch Linux is set up pretty good. Back in the olden days, it was rocky, but it was still a fun system to play around with. But it was a very tinkering system. Nowadays, Arch Linux is quite easier than it used to be, and it's very, very, very stable. I really, really, really love this system a lot. I like that today's Arch Linux is really impressive, and it's very stable. And I recommend it to anybody that wants to use a really good Linux distribution. I say use Arch Linux. It's a very good system. Have a good one, guys. Cheers.